You're now listening to All Hog Sports, covering all Arkansas Razorback sports, such as football, basketball, baseball, and much more. Now, here's your host for today's show, Sam Stimson.
Postseason basketball is upon us, and this is March. Now, Arkansas Razorbacks kick off the postseason in the SEC men's basketball tournament on the quarterfinals Friday, March 11th, which is today as I'm releasing this. They play an LSU team who beat Missouri to end up to go to the quarterfinals. Now, this LSU team, Arkansas, has faced two other times this year and has won, but a lot of things are different when you're facing a team for the third time in one season. And Arkansas' last game versus LSU was only 2 games ago. Now, before I get into the SEC tournament and such, just a quick why I'm doing this. So, I'm going to Tampa for the SEC tournament, and I'm not able to take my microphone and stuff. So, today, I waited so I could make sure LSU won this game. So, I'll be previewing Arkansas's game versus LSU, and then I'll be previewing potential games in the semifinals against teams like Auburn or Texas A&M, and then a potential championship matchup if Arkansas were to make it there against Tennessee, Kentucky, or Alabama, in most scenarios there. So the way I'm going to start it, preview that LSU Arkansas game, then preview some other teams Arkansas could play, and then give my final prediction where I think Arkansas runs in Tampa and how it could affect the seeding and such. So first game, Arkansas, LSU. Now this game is scheduled for 1 p.m. Central Time, but it can go around there because it's always 25 minutes after the game before. So it'll be sometime around there. LSU sitting at 22-10, 9-9 conference play. They are the 5 seed in the SEC tournament, so they're that one spot from the double bye. Arkansas 13-5 in conference play, 24-7. Arkansas and LSU have both played, like I've said. Arkansas won both of those games, one of those being at LSU. Arkansas won by 7, and then Arkansas won 77-76 at home. Just a couple, maybe like a week ago, I think it was March 2nd that game happened. Going and looking back at those games real quick, to say they were easy wins would be so wrong. I mean, they were absolutely dogfights in both of them. Arkansas was down 2 at LSU and then was tied at half here at home. Arkansas really in both of those games took over down the stretch. The huge one in the win at LSU was Arkansas finishing on a 17-2 run. If you remember that game, Jalen Williams had a huge performance there, and that one was getting a lot of charges and such. J.D. Note again had a huge night. Then this game at home, Arkansas was really helped out by Mude. I think Mude shot 50% from the floor, and J.D. was actually off this game, still got 12 points. He scored double digits in all 28 games that he's played this year. I think 29 actually now. But anyway, double digits in all of those. And there's not going to be many games where he's shooting 25% from the floor and such, which will be nice for Arkansas. But he did have 5 assists in that game. Looking at these 2 games, though, the huge thing for LSU has been the play of Tari Eason off the bench for them. He had 13 points against Arkansas in the first game, and then in this most recent one, he was huge. He had 24 points before he fouled out of this one. Now, don't let LSU's record really deceive how good this team is. I know a 9-9 conference record, 22-10, I guess, doesn't look like a team that could make a run, really deep run in March, but they have a lot of talent. Darius Day is a fantastic player. Xavier Pinson held really good by Tony, and I'll give an update on Tony here in a second. But Pinson, huge for LSU, and both of those guys have spent a decent amount of the season hurt and such. Lots of other talent on this team, though. Wilkinson, forward, probably going to get a start there. Brandon Murray, Efton Reed. Terry Eason off the bench, SEC 6 Man of the Year. And then Eric Gaines, a point guard off the bench, really turned it on in the first game versus Arkansas. And his defense has been all-conference worthy. I thought he got snubbed from that list. Now, LSU's style of basketball is very defensive dominant, which is kind of different for a normal LSU Will Wade team. In most years, you're used to them having a really good offense, but their defense has not been as disciplined. And this year they have a really defensive disciplined team, but in certain times when you watch LSU, it really seems like they kind of just get out of sorts, and they make really low basketball like IQ plays, sloppy turnovers, especially down the clutch. The discipline was shown in the game against Arkansas. I mean, they really struggled in those final few minutes. Now, this game versus Missouri that they just played, they really blown out Missouri for most of the game, and it ended up being an 8-score game at the end because really last 2 minutes, LSU really didn't seem to put the gas back on with like 2 minutes left. LSU was up 76-59, and they did not score that much for the rest of the game. I don't think they scored at all, actually. But again, those are your backups and such, and your waiting time. But I think the main thing for LSU to win this game is obviously that defense. And the main thing is that defense is very hands-on. That's going to be a very aggressive defense, very in defenders' face, very physical. And if you look at the game against Arkansas here at Bud Walton, they ended up getting called for 25 fouls as a result of that defensive play style. LSU, though, has been good on offense. They're still a top 100 offensive team in the nation. They really know how to crash the boards well. But the main thing for LSU will be, having Xavier Pinson run point guard effectively, and then the play of guys like Tari Eason off the bench. And if Arkansas can get guys like Jalen Williams going in the paint, that'll be good. But yeah, don't be deceived by this LSU's team record. When they're healthy, they're one of the best teams in the nation. In the SEC. I mean, I could see them making a run potentially. And I say best in the nation because you look at Ken Pom, they're number 18. Teams like the NAT has them really high. Other metrics just hold this team to a high standard because of what they have been able to show this season. So that's why I consider them a team that could make a run in March. But again, that discipline is a little concerning. Now, Arkansas has really been aided by their first-team All-SEC players, J.D. Note and Jalen Williams. J.D. Note has been an All-American this season, recognized by Sporting News, and one of the official All-American recognizers, so congrats to him. He's averaged 18.9 points per game. LSU's leading scorer, Tari Eason, averaging 16.9 points per game. Jalen Williams has been huge for Arkansas, too. Rated as one of the best glue guys in the nation. He's been really able to affect games even without a stat sheet, but a stat sheet super impressive. 10.8 points per game, 9.6 rebounds per game, the most rebounds in SEC play by a Razorback. JD also in defense has been fantastic, 2.2 steals per game, 3.6 assists per game, blocks. Jalen Williams averaging 1.2 per game, and he's averaging well over 1 charge taken per game. So those stats right there are huge for Arkansas. I mean, those two guys have really lifted this team to another level, and will continue to do that. They're two of the most played guys here for Arkansas this season. J.D. Note already has put up 1,000 minutes this season. Jalen Williams has been huge as well. Those guys have driven Arkansas' success this season. J.D. Note has been a go-to guy this entire season. When he's on the floor, he's going to really control the basketball, dish out assists and such for the Hogs. His steal rate has also been impressive on the defensive side. And with those steals comes him fouling out at certain times. So huge in this game for Arkansas is J.D. Note staying out of foul trouble, along with Jalen Williams. I mean, Williams putting his body on the line for charges. He's well known around college basketball for that. Sometimes the officials are going to favor, his side or the other side, or it'll just go on and off. But when you're taking, charges a lot, putting your body at risk there, there's certain times where you're going to get called for block, and then you get in foul trouble. So for Arkansas to avoid that will be nice too. Stanley Mude, probably the third best player offensively on this team. I think you can also make a case for second. The three of Note, Mude, and Williams is huge for Arkansas's success. Mude averaging 11.7 points per game as the team's leading 3-point shooter percentage at 36.2%. For him to snipe down, get some shots down is huge too. And then Devo Davis, Chris Likes coming off the bench. You'll see Trey Wade probably start in that ultimate big lineup too, and then Kamani Johnson getting some playing time as well. Now, a huge determinant in Arkansas's success in Tampa is the health of Adis Toney. He's part of the reason why Arkansas has the number 1 defense in conference play this season by KenPom. He's been huge for Arkansas to lock up opposite side defenders. Again, he played defense against Xavier Pinson down the stretch in the LSU game, and Pinson was 5 out of 21, and then that is where Toney got his injury. Late into that game, he had a little bit of an ankle injury, so he sat out at Tennessee. Musselman said he was going to be on limited minutes, but he actually didn't see the floor at all in that game. And then when you look at the time that he's practiced, Musselman said a couple of days ago he hasn't practiced. He's still been a boot. But the team, does social media stuff, and pictures were taken, with him without a boot. And then he did practice. You can go to the SEC's official Instagram, Twitter, and all that, and you can see him practicing without a boot on. So, given off that, I would assume that he is good to go and ready to play in this one. Whether he's at full strength or not is a different thing, but I do think Adis Toney will play in this one, and that'll be huge for Arkansas in this one. Now, in this quarterfinal matchup, I've got Arkansas advancing 71-68. This is going to be a really close game. I mean, KenPom has LSU winning by 1, a neutral floor against 2 teams that have really gone at it their last few matchups. Arkansas this season overall, really defensive-minded team, so is LSU. So, I could see it being a lower-scoring game, but I think both teams have some really good offensive players on both sides of the ball. Keys for Arkansas to get this win, I think, is limiting Xavier Pinson. They really were able to do that in their win at Budweiser Arena. Pinson did not play in that first game due to injury. And really, you got to limit the talent that LSU has. I mean, guys like Brandon Murray, Eason, Darius Days, Efton Reed, this is a very talented team. So along with that goes playing smart defense. I mean, Note, Williams, and Toney are all fantastic defenders. Mude's been able to turn it up as well this season. Devo, too. I mean, this team really defensive-minded. The list goes on and on about those guys. But to play that level of defense, you got to stay out of foul trouble. Arkansas doesn't need to get into situations where you have some of your star players playing less than 25 minutes in this one. Besides Toney, who may be injured. But also on the offensive side, Arkansas has to swing the ball around and limit those turnovers. LSU forcing 11.2 steals per game is a huge stat in that one. But the main thing for Arkansas is, like I say, all those 3 guys, Note, Williams, and Mude, you got to get at least 2 out of 3 of those guys going on offense and really play that high level of defense without fouling, and don't have a lot of turnovers with this LSU system with very active hands that forces that high amount of steals per game. Now, next up on the quarterfinal side here is the winner of this Arkansas-LSU game. We'll play the winner of the Auburn-Texas A&M game. I do have Auburn winning that matchup, and a hypothetical against Auburn. This would be Auburn seeking revenge. Arkansas ended up defeating Auburn at home at Budweiser Arena. Main things with this one, if Arkansas does face Auburn, is Arkansas has to find a way to limit the likes of Walker Kessler, especially in that game versus Arkansas. He had 19 rebounds and 7 blocks, 16 points. Jabari Smith Jr. has been fantastic this season. He was 6 out of 16 at Bud Walton Arena. He's been one of the best players in college basketball. I do have him as the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming NBA draft. But anyway, he's been fantastic this year for the Tigers. SEC Freshman of the Year. 17.1 points per game is his number. Wendell Green Jr., Zeb Jasper, they're point guards. Wendell this season has had some games where he's been up and down. Arkansas was 9 out of 21. And then you've got guys like Alan Flanagan, Katie Johnson. Katie didn't really have a good game at Arkansas. The main thing with this Auburn team is their defense is going to win them a lot of games, especially in March. But they have a really